Howdy, howdy. Happy Friday, everybody. This is our Friday live stream. We do these every single Friday. Either myself, Lane, or Holly hop on here, answer your guys' questions about nutrition, about Carbon Diet Coach, the app, any questions you guys have. If you do have questions, the best place to put them, if you're on Instagram, is ask a question in one of those in the box thing, and then I can pull it up for everybody to see the question that I'm answering at that time. And then if you are on YouTube or Facebook, just put it in the comments there, and then I'm able to pull that up on the screen as well. So yeah, if you guys have questions, be sure to put them in there. Getting some people in here. Let's see. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Where's everybody from? Let's see here. Welcome to all the people coming in. So I'm Keith Kraker. I'm one of the co-founders here at Carbon Diet Coach, and along with Lane and Holly, we built this app and algorithm based on our years of experience coaching people. You know, we put everything that we knew into this app to make it the best possible coaching app for you. So if you can't afford one-on-one coaching with an actual person, this is the best alternative, and it's a lot cheaper. So got a few questions here. Kansas City, Virginia, welcome. US peeps, let's see. How does your app compare to the First Form app? I've been using First Form for a year. I'm not sure, actually. I've never actually even came across the app before, so I can't really speak to what it does. But in terms of what Carbon does, maybe I can explain a little bit of what Carbon does, and then you can kind of make that comparison for yourself. So what Carbon does is it provides you with macro targets, and those macro targets are going to be adjusted weekly through the coach. And so you're going to check into the coach every single week, and it's going to adjust those macro targets to make sure that you're progressing towards your goal. And so you'll set a goal initially in the app, then it'll give you macro targets that the coach feels is the best place to start for that goal that you set. And then you will track your diet. So we have a food tracker in the app with a food nutrition database and everything that you can search for foods. So there's a diary component to our app that you can use. And so you'll go about your week, you'll track your diet, and then every week you'll check into the coach, and it'll ask you a few questions. You'll go through the process. It'll determine, so it'll look at like what your progress was the past week, what your goal is, how far you are away, and then determine what kind of nutrition changes need to happen in terms of your macros. And then it'll adjust that, and it'll keep adjusting until you are progressing at the rate that you want. So it's very smart, and it finds exactly where you need to be eating to progress at the rate that you want. And one thing we don't offer is meal plans. So we take a flexible dieting approach with it and provide you with macro targets. And then it's on you to determine what foods you would like to eat to reach those macro targets. So that is a little bit more, there's a little bit more effort on your end to be able to figure out what fits, but we feel like that is a process and a skill that you need to build yourself if you want to be successful with reaching your goals long term. So it's something that's going to really help. And so that's kind of the basic rundown of Carbon. I'm not really sure what First Form does, but hopefully that helps give you a better understanding of how they compare. Thank you for the question. All right. Okay. The app has been great. Thanks. Thank you for being a member. We appreciate you. Okay. My question is about, let's see. My question is about maintenance calories, and how long would you suggest to eat at maintenance? Let's see. Oh, having trouble on Facebook. So the Facebook group kind of dropped off here. Looks like there's maybe a connection issue. Let's see. I'm going to try to re-enable that just because we want our Facebook group peeps in here. 1 second. Let's see. How do I add? Okay. Add that. And let's see if it pulls in. Okay. So I'm trying to add Facebook back in, but so question about maintenance calories. How long would you suggest to eat at maintenance calories with the app to determine a more accurate calorie range? So, I mean, it all depends on your goals. When you set a goal in Carbon, it's going to, if it's your first like goal creation with Carbon, it's going to estimate where your maintenance calories are at. Now that may or may not be super accurate, and over time the coach will learn where your actual maintenance calories need to be. And you don't have to like go to the maintenance setting, and then let the app figure out where your maintenance is at, and then switch to the goal that you want. You could just switch to the goal that you want and then let the app do its adjustments through the coaching check-ins, and it will find where your maintenance calories are at. And so you don't have to have that step in there. You can just pick the goal that you want and move forward. And as long as you are being consistent and compliant and checking in, the app's going to be able to determine an accurate maintenance calorie number that you can move forward with goal changes and whatnot. So there isn't really a time frame you need to like go to the maintenance setting to figure out maintenance calories. All right. So Debbie asks, if you've been at low calories for a while and have not been consistent, how long should you stay at maintenance calories before going back to fat loss calories? Okay, so it sounds like you're at maintenance, but the maintenance is low, which is causing you to not be consistent, which is causing you to not be compliant. It's kind of this not great situation to be in. So it sounds like you might need to actually maybe do the reverse diet setting for a while and work on gaining your consistency with your diet and optimizing your metabolism and trying to see how far you can get your maintenance calories up, so that next time when you do go to do a fat loss phase, you can actually be consistent, and then you'll be able to check in compliant, and then you'll be able to get the progress that you want towards your goals. So it's just from reading this sentence, I would recommend reverse dieting for a while and work on your habits and trying to be more consistent week in and week out. And then over time, you'll be able to be a lot more comfortable with that. All right, let's go back to IG. For the Carbon app, can you change some days to be high, some days to be low cals, that will still keep you in a deficit overall? Absolutely. So if your goal is set at weight loss in Carbon, we have, well, with any goal, we have a calorie planner in the app. So it's in the diary, and you're able to adjust that calorie planner however you want on each day, and it will still keep your same average macro targets for the week. So that means no matter how you adjust that calorie planner, if you want high days, low days, whatnot, no matter how you adjust it, at the end of the week, if you followed the plan that you use the planner for, you're going to hit the same macro targets on average, and you're going to end up getting the same progress. So absolutely, you can do that in Carbon, and I would highly recommend checking out the Calorie Planner feature. So I lost 6 pounds of water weight first week back on fat loss. Can I start a new goal so the coach uses that weight as a starting point? You can, but I would make sure you don't use your current estimated maintenance if you've already checked in, because if you've lost 6 pounds on the macros that the coach started you out at, it's going to estimate that your maintenance calories are like through the roof. So you're not going to want to use that number if you've already checked in, and then if it's determined your maintenance calories on that first check-in. If you haven't checked in for your first check-in yet, you can just create another goal, and before you would check in, create another goal, and then that would use your past data before this huge weight fluctuation, and then you will be able to have the starting weight be your more normal weight instead of that bloated weight you had before. All right. All right. So, Lerone, any future updates coming to the app or a tease of what's to come? So we are in the process of we're very close to releasing a new update to the app that's going to drastically improve the performance. So as you've been using the app and as you use it for a while, certain things, parts of the app might slow down a little bit, and we basically took a step back to do like a complete overhaul of how we're doing things in the app to improve performance as much as possible. So it's not really a visual or physical change, or we haven't added new features. It's just a complete kind of performance overhaul that we will be releasing in a few weeks' time. So look out for that, and that should be making it a lot snappier. And then after that, we're going to really focus on the main features that we want to incorporate into the app. I don't want to give away too many details, but I have some really amazing features around solving the weight fluctuation issues that we sometimes see, and things around check-ins. There's some great things. So we really want to start beefing up the coach aspect of the app more. So look out for stuff coming in that area. And then some tracker features as well. We have planned that a lot of people have requested certain tracker features. So we have those in the works as well. So shortly after this performance rewrite, we're going to switch gears and start focusing on some amazing features for you guys. So stay tuned for that. All right. So I answered that one already. Okay. Okay, so I've been wrongly restricting for years, not now due to misinformed doctor recommendations. Wondering what the best approach for me would be, trying to lose weight but fix my metabolism. Super lost but interested in your app. So those two goals that you have, wanting to lose weight and improve your metabolism, are not going to happen at the same time, unfortunately. So you're going to have to take what's most important right now, which sounds like improving your metabolism and trying to undo a lot of the negative things that happen from how you've dieted in the past. And so you're going to have to forget about losing weight right now. And that can be hard for some people to hear, but in order to get you to where you want to be, you're going to have to take some steps back because of all the things you did in the past. So you're going to have to work on doing a reverse diet. Is what if you so it sounds like you're not a user of Carbon right now, but if you do sign up with Carbon, I would highly recommend you start off with the reverse diet setting and then be on that for quite a while and see how high you're able to push your calories, so that when you do get to a good place with your metabolism is starting to hum again, then you can diet on a lot higher calories than you probably would need to diet right now. So that's something I would highly recommend you do. And reverse dieting, not only to like help improve your metabolism, it can really help improve consistency and adherence and all those things, which are very important for your long-term success as well. So when calories aren't low and you aren't have that restricted mindset, you're able to be more consistent because it's not as much of a struggle. You know, you don't have to always constantly be thinking about like staying under a certain calorie number. You're going to be able to eat a little bit more. You're going to feel a little better. So really take advantage of the reverse diet time and give it time so that you do this right. And then once you reach that point where your metabolism's in a good place, then you can go to weight loss and hopefully get to whatever your long-term goal is. So that's what I would recommend you do. All right. So not new to lifting, and since you can't really build muscle in a deficit when you're not new, should I alter a workout for when in a deficit to help with recovery? Lighter/fewer days or bear with it if I find recovery harder in a deficit? Yeah, it just depends on how big of a deficit you are. So if you're in a bigger deficit, you're going to have to prioritize recovery a little more. And so that is going to cause you to not be able to train as hard as you would if you weren't in as big of a deficit. So then you do have more potential for muscle loss when you're doing that in a deficit. So I think what's best is going with a slow rate of loss so that you're not in too big of a deficit. And then prioritizing recovery, like you said, like making sure you have maybe like pre and post workout meals, like 1 to 2 hours around your workout, and then making sure that you are hitting your macros that Carbon's recommending, and then you should be good to go. But yeah, you're going to have to probably prioritize recovery a little more. And if you notice you're starting to like really drag and recovery is getting worse, you might need to do more often deloads where you work out with lighter weights and let yourself fully recover. And so you might need to be more strategic with how you're setting up your long-term training plan. But yeah, deficit is going to hinder recovery a little bit. Let's see. Been on a deficit for the past 7 months, around 1% body weight per week. I've reached my ideal body fat and want to reverse diet. Does the app evaluate your daily or weekly weight fluctuations to make calorie adjustments? So right now, it depends on which week it is in your plan with Carbon. So on the first week on a reverse diet setting, the app is going to look at your start and end weight for that week to determine if you've gained too much or not. If you didn't gain too much on the reverse setting on your first week, it's going to make an adjustment. And then the next week is going to look at your average weight between the first and the second week and determine if you've gained too much. And if you do gain too much on the reverse setting, it holds your calories steady. And if you gain like a lot on the reverse setting, on a certain check-in, the coach will drop you down a little bit, but most often it doesn't drop you down. It'll just not adjust when you gain a little bit too much. And so, yeah, it will take into account your weekly average weights after the first week using it. And so it will help to flatten out those weight fluctuations that you might see while reverse dieting, or just in general. Most people have weight fluctuations that happen. Good question. Is it normal to be hungrier on a reverse than on a cut? Sometimes, yeah, it just depends. It really depends on the person and where your cut calories were. I think a lot of it comes down to more of a psychological change. So like when you're on a cut, you have like this clear goal in mind. And when you are on a reverse, you don't necessarily have that goal in mind. So maybe you start thinking more about food and whatnot. So that might be a reason why on a reverse you might be hungrier. And then as well, like on a reverse, your metabolism is speeding up. So sometimes it speeds up, a lot as you're adding food back in, and it kind of overshoots where you're currently at. And so hunger can kind of do some funny things. And so, yeah, for some people I've seen it's pretty normal to be hungrier on a reverse than on a cut. But at some point that is going to shift. And so if you get onto a reverse and you are, pretty deep into a reverse, you're not going to really notice those hunger issues anymore. But at the beginning, I think that's when most people tend to see that. Kind of going back to the question I just answered about the check-ins. So does the app require daily check-ins? It's what I'm used to, or just once a week check-in. So you can add your weight daily to the app, and you also track your diet in the app daily. But the check-in process is once a week. And so that's how we always did it as coaches as well. Like, we'll have a weekly check-in with our clients, see how the past week went, determine if there's any adjustments that need to be made. So that's what our check-in process is. And so you will check in with the coach once a week, but you can weigh in, enter your weight, do all that stuff on a daily basis. All right. Why do coaches not recommend cow's milk and only oat milk, please? So that, I mean, there are some people that just aren't very smart, and they might have certain reasons. They might think cow's milk is bad for you, which is not the case. So it really depends on the person. Everybody kind of has their own opinion, but if you look at the research, cow's milk is great and recommended for people. So, and also I think it has more protein as well than oat milk. So I would recommend cow's milk over oat milk any day. But if you have maybe low calories, or you have a dairy issue, then maybe you go for those alternate milks. But a lot of times those alternate milks do not have the protein that cow's milk has, as well as some of the other micronutrients. So nothing wrong with cow's milk. Some people just don't really know the research and what is considered healthy foods. So yeah, it's hard to say because each coach is going to recommend something different, but I think you need to look at the science around it. What would happen if I never updated my goal? Just curious. Uh, let's say you never update your goal, but you keep checking in. The coach is going to keep having you lose. Let's say you're on weight loss, for example. The coach is going to keep having you lose at the percentage rate that you have set at the beginning. And so it's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until you change that setting. So you set your goal at, I want to lose a 0.5% of my body weight per week. The coach is going to adjust your calories each week to make sure that you're losing at that 0.5%. And then as you lose weight, the absolute amount of weight that you're going to need to lose is going to shrink as well. And so, yeah, that's going to happen if you never update your goals. It's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And eventually you'll reach a point where, because you would keep losing weight and the app would keep trying to get you to lose weight, you're going to reach a point where you hit what we call our calorie floor. And that's where we don't allow you to go below a certain calorie number. And that's based on your specific body. So that's not just like a across the board calorie number for everybody. We base it on your specific body and your body's makeup. And so you're going to eventually reach a point, if you're on the weight loss setting, eventually reach a point where you hit that calorie floor, and then it's just going to keep your calories the same week to week to week to week. And so, yeah. When reverse dieting, will the app let me know when I've hit maintenance? So that it sounds like, so there's a common misconception around reverse dieting. We start your reverse diet at maintenance, at your current maintenance. And so that means you're going to maintain your weight. We want to start as high as possible with your reverse diet, and starting at your current maintenance is how we do that. We don't start at your deficit calories that may be 500 calories below your current maintenance and then slowly build up from there. That's just prolonging the deficit that you're in, which is not a good idea. When you're done dieting, we want to get you out of a deficit and get you to maintenance calories, and then we build up from there. So what we do is we slowly add calories on top of your current maintenance in hopes to push that number up and up and up over time. And so, yeah, the app is going to start you out at your maintenance. And a lot of people think maintenance is like this very static number, but the more you use carbon, the more you realize it's like, it's kind of all over the place. Your maintenance calories are not a static number, and they change week to week, month to month, year to year. They can be drastically different. And so, yeah, that's that answer there. I had another thought, but then I lost it. Oh, the app will so if you're on the reverse setting, the app will let you know when it appears your maintenance calories are in a good place. So you'll start a reverse at your currently estimated maintenance. And then once you reach a place where the app detects that your metabolism is in a good place, it'll let you know that. And then at that point, you can change your setting if you want, or you can keep going. It's up to you. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Thank you. I love carbon and I'm extremely grateful. Thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful that you are a member and supporting us. How many weeks generally is a good duration to diet before taking a reverse diet break? So reversing and diet breaks are two different concepts. A diet break is typically like a week where you're going to maintenance calories, whereas like a reverse is a longer period phase where you're going to try to increase your metabolism over time by slowly increasing your calories. And so there really isn't a way, or there really isn't like a specific duration that I can give you. I think if we're talking about reverse dieting after dieting, I think maybe a good rule of thumb is for how many ever weeks you dieted for. Usually, you want to reverse diet for that same amount of weeks after. That's kind of a very rough rule of thumb. Everybody's different. Some people may need to reverse diet for longer. Some people might not need to. And so it's very unique in the person. But yeah, you're welcome. Can I just pay you to follow me around and slap me every time I go to eat over my calories instead? I can, yeah. Are you in Michigan? I'd love to help. All right. Is carbon for me? I eat out a lot, so I can't track accurately. Am I better just reducing my target by 300 a day to give me a buffer for inaccuracies? So, if you are eating out a lot, you are going to have those inaccuracies in your tracking. But if you are consistently kind of eating out the same amount of days, for example, getting roughly the same meals and tracking it the same way, that is not going to really matter near as much anymore in the long term. So the more consistency you can build into your eating out, for example, the better off you'll be. And the best thing you can do, since you can't like know exactly what you're eating, is just go eat at places that have nutrition information provided for you, and then just trust that their nutrition information is close enough. That's the best you can do, honestly. And if they don't have nutrition information that you can find, I would search for maybe a competitor restaurant online, or I mean in our food database, look for a competitor restaurant that has a very similar dish and track it that way. I wouldn't recommend doing this buffer thing because it's kind of like then you're kind of out of sync with what is recommended and what you think you're doing. I think just trying to be more consistent around the things you're doing. So try to be more consistent around your eating out, I think is going to be better. And the question of is carbon for me, I mean, it can be, it can still work for you if you are tracking that way. It's just a matter of just doing it. So yeah, carbon can definitely still work for you. This Q&A is so useful. Thanks so much for doing this. You bet. We are here to help you guys. What's up, Bailey? Just starting the app today. The macros and calories definitely get fine-tuned as I log more, right? So as you're logging food in the tracker, it's not going to adjust. It's not going to adjust like your following days or anything like that as you're logging your foods throughout the week. The place where the app adjusts your diet and macros and fine tunes them over time is through the coaching check-in process. So each week you're going to check into the coach, and it is going to look at what progress did you make, what was the goal that you had set, and then determine what macro adjustments need to happen to get your progress at the rate that you want. And so that's where it gets fine-tuned. It gets fine-tuned on a weekly basis. And on the daily basis, you're able to do things like adjust the calorie planner however you want, to kind of budget and account for the calories throughout your week. So as long as you're keeping your average macro calories throughout the week, you're going to end up getting the same progress. And that's what we have built into our calorie planner. You're able to have high days, have low days, and still stay on track with your weekly average. And yeah, so be as consistent as you can with tracking and checking in. And the more you do that, the more the coach is going to be able to fine tune those macros over time. All right. Do you still coach? I do not. So I focus on carbon full time now. I used to coach one-on-one, really enjoyed it, but I realized I could help a ton more people by building this product and putting my focus here. So I gave up one-on-one coaching right now, but maybe I'll do it again in the future. We will see. Should I trust the maintenance calories after checking in with 3 compliant check-ins while in a cutting phase? Yeah, 3. So if you had 3 compliant check-ins, the app is going to have a pretty good idea of where your maintenance calories are at. Unless you had this single outlier week that was just like crazy through the roof, it might skew it a little bit. But the more compliant check-ins you have, the more accurate and the more confident you can be in that maintenance calorie number. 3 is a good place to get a good idea of where you're at, for sure, though. What happens when you click non-compliant? Does the app skip that week and pretend it never happened as far as data collection is concerned? So the app is still collecting the data. A lot of people say the app does nothing when you check non-compliant. That's not necessarily true. The app still has that data in the back end and it uses it for certain things. But what happens when you click non-compliant, that means you didn't follow the recommendations. And as a coach, it's really hard to want to adjust somebody's calories when they're struggling to be compliant and hit the recommendations that you're giving them. And so that's kind of why it holds your macros where they're at, to give you another week to aim to hit that goal that you had set for yourself in terms of tracking. And then once you're able to be compliant, then the coach can start really analyzing your progress and adjusting those macros. There are certain things we want to do in the future where we still maybe will make adjustments if you're non-compliant. There are certain scenarios where it makes sense still. But to start out, we didn't want to make adjustments when you're non-compliant. But in the future, we are likely going to have some adjustments being made under certain circumstances when you're non-compliant, just so you can still get an adjustment if it makes sense. Let's see. So when will carbon say my metabolism is in a healthy level in a reverse? I'm 170 pounds, eating 3,300 calories a day already. Maintenance just over 3,000. So I can't give away our specifics of how we determine your maintenance is in metabolism is at a healthy level, but the coach will tell you when you check in, and it senses that. And so based on your weight and where your calories are at and maintenance calories are at, I have a feeling it might come soon for you, but I can't really say exactly when. The coach will prompt you, though. What's the biggest difference between Carbon and MyFitnessPal? The biggest difference is MyFitnessPal is a food tracker and diary first and foremost, and they don't really have any dynamic aspect to their recommendations. They basically just spit out, a calorie number recommendation for you, and then say see you later, and then they just have a food tracker for you. Carbon is really different because Carbon is a coach, and it does what a coach would do in terms of macros. So it would give you macros. It'll adjust those macros each week to make sure that you're progressing towards your goal. So Carbon learns you and learns what you need to be eating to make the progress that you want. And so that's the main aspect of Carbon is the coach. We included a food tracker in the app as well to make it very convenient for you to track your macros and follow those recommendations. But we aren't necessarily, and we don't necessarily want to be known as a food tracker. We want to be a coach first and foremost. Good thing they didn't ask Lane. Yeah. All right. Lane can be grumpy sometimes. Only because he probably gets asked the same question like 10,000 times. But yeah. Any reason to do a reverse diet after a cut rather than move directly to a muscle gain approach? So I think it's good to most of the time do a reverse diet after a cut, and then after you get your metabolism to a certain place, then maybe move over to a gain phase. You can still gain muscle on the reverse diet setting. The main thing is the difference between like the weight gain setting we have and the reverse diet setting we have is that the reverse diet setting is going to constantly keep increasing your calories until you gain too much weight, whereas the gain setting is going to force your body to gain a certain amount of weight each week. So if you want to force yourself to gain a certain amount of weight each week, then go with the gain setting. But if you want to work on improving your metabolism over time, then I would go with the reverse diet setting. And I personally like doing reverse diet after cutting. And then if I do want to kind of push my weight, I might switch over to the gain, but I like to really ride out a reverse diet for as long as possible. And you're still able to build muscle on a reverse diet because on a reverse, you're like constantly in a very small surplus. And so it's going to constantly try to keep you in that very small surplus state, which can be very good for somebody that is more advanced and doesn't necessarily need to see their weight move up a ton with their gaining. And so, I like to do a reverse, but they both will work to help you build muscle. Let's see. Can you have high and low calorie days for the week? For example, lower calories Monday through Friday, higher calories Saturday and Sunday, while still being in a calorie deficit for fat loss. Absolutely. So I think I answered a question similar to this earlier, but yeah, absolutely. You can have low days, high days. You can adjust that however you want to fit your preference and your lifestyle. And we allow you to do that through the Calorie Planner feature in the diary. So if you tap on the Calorie Planner, you'll see the week view, and you'll see your macros for each day. And we have sliders that you're able to adjust and make high low days and kind of match up with however you want to eat throughout the week. And no matter how you adjust that calorie planner, it's going to keep your average macro targets on track with the coach's recommendations. And so you'll know that you will always be on track if you're using that calorie planner. I have trouble hearing my protein macros. What do I do? Trouble hitting your protein macros. It comes down to planning and food choices. And so a lot of people struggle with getting their protein and keeping their fat in check. And that usually just points to the fact that you're making the not great food choices in terms of your protein. So you want to aim to eat more lean sources of protein so that it's more predominantly a single macronutrient. And when it is more predominantly a single macronutrient, you can just increase portion sizes and not have to really worry about shifting your fat too much or whatnot. So I would definitely look at your food choices you're making for protein. And I would always make sure that each meal has a high quality source of protein in it, and then just adjust that serving that you have in each meal until you are able to hit your protein target for the day. And one thing that I like to do with people is recommend take your daily protein target and then eat anywhere from like 3 to 5 meals a day, divide that by whatever number you choose and prefer, and then have like a meal protein target that you set for yourself. So you make sure that you are always on track at any point in the day, because it's easy to get behind. Like if you have a meal where you eat low protein, for example, you're going to be thrown off for the rest of the day. You're going to have a ton more protein later in the day. So I like to really keep protein consistent throughout the day and make sure that I'm always on track. And I do that with the meal protein targets that I set for myself. How long would you recommend cutting before you have to worry about hormones becoming unbalanced? It all depends on how much weight you have to lose. So if you have a ton of weight to lose, you can lose a lot of weight without having any negative hormonal issues. And a lot of time, if you're really overweight and you lose weight, your hormones actually improve. And so you really only see the hormonal detriments when you start getting more lean. And the more lean you are and the longer you diet when you're lean, that's when you're going to really start seeing those hormonal issues that come up. And so yeah, if you're more lean, you tend to want to have shorter dieting periods, whereas if you have a little bit more weight to lose, you can have them be a lot longer and not necessarily worry about hormonal issues. And you'll notice when you have hormonal issues, you will feel like garbage, and so you should be able to know when that happens. Is there a note section in the app? There isn't. I've heard that a few times. I don't know how valuable it is. Some people would really like it, but I think a lot of people wouldn't use it. So yeah, I'm not sure. We don't have any, I guess, short-term plans to add a note section, but you never know. Long-term, we might add that in there depending on what our users are saying. How does the calorie planner work? Do I have to plan the calories at the beginning of the week? I noticed a lock under each day. And so we named it the Calorie Planner because we want to focus on planning ahead. The more you can plan out your week ahead in terms of macros, the more successful you will be, instead of kind of winging it and going with the flow and seeing what happens. And so, you know, if when you check in, it allows you to adjust the calorie planner for the week ahead. And, you know, that's usually the best time to do it. If you know things are coming up, like if you know, hey, I'm going out to dinner with friends on Saturday, and I know I'm going to need more calories for that, and I want to budget more calories for that, you will want to do that ahead of time. And so you can adjust the calorie planner right after you check in, but you can adjust it at any point throughout the week. And that's where that lock comes into play, is for days that you want to lock the calorie planner in place and not have it be adjusted, you would use that lock feature. So let's say you ate a certain amount of calories. Let's say you ate below what your target macros were for a single day. You would go into the calorie planner, adjust the calories on that day to what you actually ate, and then lock it. And then it's going to budget the rest of the week appropriately. And so that's really what the lock feature is for in the planner. But we like to stress, you know, planning ahead is always better than kind of going with the flow and being reactive to what's happening. You know, so the more you can plan ahead using the calorie planner, the better off you'll be, but it still will allow you to adjust if things come up. Great question. thoughts on a feature where you could adjust our goal just to see what changing it would be like without actually changing it. Yeah, we thought about it. I there we have talked about it, and I have some ideas that for this. So it might come in a certain form in the future, but um, I think the problem is then we're going to have macro shoppers, and they're going to just constantly be messing with the app to get the macros that they want. We want you to set the app for the desired outcome that you want. So how much weight do you want to lose per week? We want you to set it based on that, not necessarily on a specific macro number, because the second, the macro numbers that you're going to get instantly from the coach when you change your goal could be different, a week, 2 weeks from now. So setting your goal specifically based on those initial macro numbers that you get and making that be your decision factor isn't the best thing in my opinion. I think it's better to pick the desired outcome that you want and then be consistent, check in, allow the coach to find where you need to be eating to see that outcome. And then you can kind of reassess for yourself, hey, do I enjoy these macros? Are they too low? Are they too high? Whatnot. But yeah, we definitely talked about some way to kind of see what you're getting into before you commit to it, but it's a fine balance for sure. Is it worth, I have my protein slider set for the lowest protein level and manageable for me right now, but the slider can go up to 1.5 grams per pound of lean body mass. Am I missing out on something by keeping it lower? So usually the middle of the range is going to be best for most people. So like going crazy low, like all the way to the bottom of the protein slider. For some people, that might be not sufficient, but for the majority of people, that's still sufficient. But if you are like an outlier, for example, that just needs more protein, going all the way down to the bottom of that slider might not be the best idea. And same thing on the top end. Like when you go all the way to the top end, you might be kind of just overeating on protein that it's not necessarily bad or anything, but you could better use those calories, maybe putting them towards carbs or fats. And so you're kind of shifting that diet a little bit that way too. So for most people, I like keeping it in the middle of the range so that you kind of balance the best of both worlds. What up, Joey? But yeah, I think you're fine keeping it at the lower end. But since you also mentioned being in a deficit earlier, I believe, and around training, I would maybe recommend bringing it up back to like the default level and then going with that. But and if you're struggling, it sounds like maybe you're struggling to reach your protein level. Really look at your food choices. It's going to come down to how are you choosing to fill your budget with food, with protein. So aim for better sources, leaner sources that are going to help you more easily hit that protein target. Hi, Keith. Is there a way to look back and see which weeks you were compliant or not? Yes, absolutely. So you can see all your coaching check-in history if you go to the coach tab, and then in the top right-hand corner, there will be like a history icon. If you tap that, there'll be a list of all of your check-ins, and you'll be able to go into any of your check-ins and see if you were compliant, what your macro targets were, what the coaching check-in message was. You'll be able to see that. So that's where you do that. You're welcome, Steve. Let's see here. Appreciate everybody asking these great questions. You guys are the best. If you do have questions, we're going to have about 10 to 12 more minutes, probably about 10 more minutes. I'm going to be in here, answer your guys' questions. So be sure to ask them. I just started taking creatine again and cleared from surgery to lift upper body. Will carbon help me level out my weight if I set to maintain? So if you so when you set the coach to maintain your weight, it's going to maintain the weight that you set when you created that goal. And so if that's the weight you want to maintain, then you're going to want to be on the maintenance setting. But if, for example, that weight isn't the weight you want to maintain, you're not going to be on the right setting for that. And so starting to take creatine, and then starting to also lift are two huge variables that can really cause a lot of weight fluctuations and changes. And you'll likely see a good increase in your weight. And so what's going to happen if you are on the maintenance setting is the coach is going to try to keep your weight at that amount. And if you are gaining weight from the creatine and from the muscle damage that you have from training, the coach is going to drop your calories because you said you wanted to maintain that certain weight. And so the best thing to do, in my opinion, is if you are in these extreme circumstances where you start taking creatine, start training for the first time, is to create your goal. Don't check in until your weight has stabilized from all of this stuff. So, give it 2 to 3 weeks before you do a check-in. And then at that point, the coach is going to just start from there and get you going from there. But you don't want to make any adjustments if these crazy things are happening to your weight, because you're not really confident in what the macros are doing. And so give it 2 to 3 weeks and then check in, and then just continue with a coach how you would. Will body composition be better if you diet, reverse diet, and then diet again? Most likely, if they're all successful phases, you'll likely be able to reach, a leaner state on that second dieting round, and probably not have as hard of a time reaching that as well. And so that's the benefit of having these phases where you kind of do piggyback of dieting, reverse dieting, reverse dieting. Over time, you're going to be able to likely maintain your weight on higher calories and diet on higher calories, get leaner, and be able to eat a little bit more. And so the more you're doing diets and reverse diets successfully over time, the better body composition and overall lifestyle I think you'll have. Love the app. About to hit 1 year. What app enhancements are coming that excite you the most? In the short term, the performance update that we are going to be releasing in a few weeks here, that is very exciting to me because it's a huge improvement from the current app. You'll notice a big difference in performance. And then that's also exciting for me because then we're going to be shifting our focus onto features and starting to do some of these higher level features that I've been really wanting to do for a while. A lot of them revolve around the coach and kind of solving the weight fluctuation issues that can happen in certain circumstances. And so I have some really amazing things planned that I can't wait to implement and release to you guys. But you're going to have to wait for that. But in the meantime, we have a performance update coming out in a few weeks. Super excited to release that to you guys. Will the app tell you when it's a good time to go to a reverse diet from fat loss? So it will. It's kind of a low place though. So like when you reach the calorie floor that we have set, which is like the lowest possible calorie amount that we will allow you to go to, then it'll recommend you reverse diet. But before that, it's not going to necessarily recommend reverse dieting. I think it more comes down to how you're feeling, the symptoms that you're having. There's a lot more subjectiveness around when it's time to reverse diet. Like, if you're really feeling the dieting effects start to pile on and things are getting difficult for you, like it's hard to be compliant to the macro targets, those are all signs that it's a good time to reverse diet and switch off fat loss. But yeah, there is something built in that will recommend reversing on a fat loss if your calories get too low for what we consider to be like a healthy calorie amount. Please, can you advise if this app can be successfully used in the UK? I only ask because the food in the US is different to the UK. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So we have a food database support in the UK. So we have we support the United States, the UK, Australia, and Canada. And so if you're in any of those regions, you will be able to find branded food items specific to your region. If you are outside of those regions that I mentioned, you will still be able to find foods, but they're going to be the generic foods where, like, just generic oatmeal or potatoes or things like that, things that don't necessarily have a brand tied to them. You'll be able to find those anywhere in the world. But in the UK, you'll definitely be able to find branded food items. And we feel like our UK database is very good as well. So no issues there. And then if you aren't able to find foods, for example, you can always create custom foods. So we have the feature in the app that you can create your own foods, create your own recipes, and you can save those. And then anytime you're searching for it, you can just pull that up and track those. So you can build up your own kind of food database for the ones that are missing, but I think you'll be able to find mostly all of the foods you need to track. Like I basically have zero custom foods and zero recipes. I basically just search all my foods and then just kind of track it off my recents and stuff. But I tend to eat kind of similar foods on a daily basis, but I've never really run into too many issues with finding the foods that I'm looking for. And it sounds like, so you're not subscribed to Carbon. If you want to learn more about Carbon, definitely check out our help center on our website. There's a lot of information there about, our philosophies, certain features of the app, so you'll get a good understanding of that. So that's at joincarbon.com/help, and you'll see a bunch of help videos there that you can watch. And also our landing page, joincarbon.com, you can get some info. Let's see. Got time for maybe one more question here. You're welcome, Joseph. All right. Is 2,200 calories a day for weight loss too low for someone 400 pounds, inactive, and wanting to lose weight? Not necessarily. It all depends on your lean body mass, which is so you have your fat mass, you have your lean body mass, and your lean body mass is really that body underneath the fat that you have. And so if that's really what determines what is too low of calories for you. And so somebody that's 400 pounds, if you're aiming to lose a percent of weight per percent of your weight per week, that's 4 pounds a week. That's a decent size deficit. And so you are likely going to have to eat a little bit lower calories. 2,200 might be too low. I don't know if that's what Carbon is giving you or if you're just asking in general. But 2,200, it could be sufficient for sure. If you have more weight to lose, you aren't necessarily going to feel the dieting effects like somebody that has less weight to lose, because you have a lot of calories and energy stored in that body fat. And as you're losing it, you're not necessarily going to feel those dieting effects like somebody that has less body fat to lose. And so it's impossible really for me to say without more information if that's too low for you, but just looking at the numbers, if you're inactive, it doesn't seem crazy unreasonable. But if you're using Carbon will adjust to find exactly where you need to be eating and kind of keep your calories as high as possible, which is really important. You want to try to lose weight on as many calories as you can. And so if you're using Carbon, it'll do it for you and adjust those every week as you're checking in and determine what needs to happen. But if you're not using Carbon, my suggestion to you is try to lose weight on as many calories as possible and only cut them when you need to. Like, for example, if you hit a plateau or something like that, you're going to want to cut your calories. But another thing that's really important, I think, is trying to be more active. That's going to really help. It's going to help a ton. And so the more active you can be, the better off this whole process is going to be. So I would try to use this time as well to build healthy habits around exercise and activity so that when you do reach your final goal weight, you'll have a much easier time maintaining that because you have these habits built in. You have that base of exercise and activity that you're doing. You might not be able to do crazy intense stuff off the start, but anything can help. If you're inactive, doing something is better than nothing. So going for walks daily, for example, or uh, doing things that are lower impact, like maybe an elliptical or some water aerobics or stuff like that. And over time, you can kind of make that more intense as you're losing weight. And so, yeah, I would recommend being as active as you can under your current circumstances, and then trying to eat as many calories as you can while still losing weight at a pretty good rate. All right. I think that is it for today. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Like I said, these are live streams we do every single Friday. So myself, Lane, or Holly, which are all co-founders of Carbon Diet Coach, we hop on here, answer your guys' questions about the app, about nutrition, about where you're struggling. We're here to help you guys. And so this is your time to get direct conversation with us. Appreciate everybody that subscribed to Carbon. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the support. If you haven't yet, leave us a review in the App Store. If you love the app, be sure to leave us a review. That really helps us a lot. I think on iOS in the US, we're getting close to 1,000 reviews, which is amazing. So if you guys could leave us an app review, we would appreciate you. And for those that aren't subscribed, you can go to our website to learn more about Carbon Diet Coach, what we offer. Our help center there is got a lot of good information about the app, and it'll help give you a good idea of what you're getting into. You can also watch a ton of these past live streams that we have to kind of hear about the app. And yeah, so we're available in the iOS and the Android App Store if you want to download the app. Subscription starting at $9.99 a month, and you can get a discount if you purchase 6 months or a year. So if you want to do this for the long haul, if you want to invest in your goals and your health, be sure to subscribe for longer. You'll get a better deal. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all for joining in on this live stream. Hope everybody has an amazing weekend, and we will see you next Friday.